The wars between the Persian Empire and the city-states of Greece would determine the outcome of a new era in Western society in the 5th century BC, as Greece embarked on a voyage of the mind, innovating in fields like art, literature, and philosophy. The Persians, however, represented the old ways, with their belief in god-kings, and where priests had royal knowledge and emperors treated even their higher subjects as slaves. Xerxes, the ruler of the Persian Empire, spent more than 4 years gathering soldiers and supplies from every corner of his empire, preparing for his war with Greece. The result amounted to an extraordinary army that, when combined with their vast navy, amounted to around 2.6 million soldiers, a figure that the Greek historian Herodotus reckoned would have to be doubled if you account for the servants, crews, and camp followers. This included the Immortals, who were known across the Persian Empire and beyond as an unstoppable force, and according to Herodotus, that any dead, wounded, or sick soldier in its ranks was replaced so swiftly that its 10,000-man strength never seemed to diminish. The Greek force that now raced to Thermopylae was incredibly small for the task that followed: 300 Spartans, 80 Mycenaeans, 500 Tegeans, 700 Thespians, and so forth, totaling about 4,900, and the Persian army was estimated to be anywhere from 200,000 to 400,000 soldiers. To the Greek strategists in 481 BC, Thermopylae represented the best chance to delay the Persians, as it was a bottleneck through which the Persian Empire somehow had to proceed. Forced to fight there, the Persians would be unable to take advantage of their massive superiority in numbers. Instead, they would have to face the Greeks in close-quarter hand-to-hand combat, which would give the Greek force enough time to combine their fleets and draw in the Persian navy into a decisive sea battle. These two armies now prepared to meet on the narrow mountain pass. For Xerxes, no force, not even nature itself, would be allowed to stop his warpath. When a violent storm destroyed his first fleet of ships bridging the Hellespont, Xerxes ordered his engineers to be put to death, and then had his men whip and curse the waters for defying him. New engineers then bridged the Hellespont again, constructed from nearly 700 galleys and triremes lashed together. The bridge was a wonder of makeshift engineering. If any Greek understood the danger of this assignment, it was certainly the Spartan commander, Leonidas. Although each city-state had their own leader, Leonidas had been placed in complete command of the Greek army. Sparta had no kings in any real sense. However, Leonidas' ancestry supposedly traces back to the demigod Heracles. Leonidas handpicked the 300 Spartans under his command, all were middle-aged men with children to carry on their family's name. On the way to Thermopylae, Leonidas sent his admired and famous Spartans ahead of the other troops to inspire them with confidence. When they arrived, the pass was unoccupied. It was only 50 feet wide and far narrower at some points. There were hot springs there, hence the name the Hot Gates. All that remained was an altar to Heracles and the remnants of an old wall with gates that had fallen into ruin, which the Greeks now rushed to rebuild. As Xerxes' army drew nearer, a Persian scout rode to survey the Greek camp, and what he saw astounded him. Most of the Spartans were naked and exercising. The rest calmly combed their hair. It was common practice for the Spartans to fix their hair when they were about to risk their lives, but neither the scout nor his king could understand such apparent vanity. The Greeks also began to receive knowledge on the size of the Persian force. Some time before the battle, Spartan Dieneces was told that when the Persian archers let loose a volley of arrows that they would hide the sun, to which Dieneces famously replied, "Then we shall fight in the shade." The Persian army encamped on the flat areas of the town of Trachis, only a short distance from Thermopylae. Xerxes stopped and waited there for 4 days, thinking that the Greeks would see his army and flee. By the 5th day, August 17th, 480 BC, Xerxes could no longer control his temper. He now sent forward his first wave of troops, Medes and Scythians, with orders to take the Greeks alive. However, they were repulsed with heavy casualties, because the Spartans favoured a formation called the phalanx, in which they would create a wall of shields at the front, and men from the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rows would point their spears in front of the shields, creating a forest of blades. Determined to punish the resistors, Xerxes sent in his Immortals. These elite Persian troops advanced confidently, imagining a simple victory, but they had no more success than the Medes and Scythians. The Persian forces were neither prepared nor equipped for such close combat. The Persians' preferred tactic was to volley arrows from a distance, since they wore very little armour and only carried daggers and short spears for close-quarter combat. As heavy casualties crippled the Persians' morale, their commanders had to resort to whipping their men in order to direct them towards the Greek defenders. During that long first day of fighting, the Spartans led the Greek resistance. The second day of Thermopylae was similar to the first. The various Greek warriors now took turns fending off the attacks, but the Persians still failed to make any ground. It is difficult to say how long the Greeks could have held off the Persians at Thermopylae. Their casualties so far weren't even comparable to the Persians, but that could soon be made irrelevant. When the Greeks had first arrived, they learned that the seemingly impregnable site had a hidden weakness. There was a goat path through the mountains that could be used by an enemy force to surround and eliminate the defenders of the gate. Leonidas thus sent his Phocian contingent to guard the path, meaning the small number of troops available at the gate was made even smaller with them gone. The Phocians themselves were charged with the difficult task of defending a path with no natural defences. Their best bet was to hide around the mountain track, remaining unseen to the Persians. The Greek traitor Ephialtes was apparently motivated by greed and wealth when he revealed the mountain path to Xerxes, who immediately acted on this information. He sent Persian troops up the path during the night so the darkness could conceal their movement among the foliage. Near the top they completely surprised the unaware Phocians, and at last, free to fight in their natural fashion, the Persians rained down arrows as the Phocians desperately tried to gather their weapons. In distress, the Phocians ran to higher ground for a last stand. The Persians, however, had no interest in chasing the Phocians higher, and instead turned down the path towards the pass at Thermopylae. Lookouts raced down the hill to warn Leonidas of the approaching Persian army. There was little time left. A quick council led to the decision to divide the Greek force. There was no reason for the entire army to be annihilated. Most contingents were now allowed to return home and prepare for a later battle. Leonidas and his Spartans would remain at Thermopylae, along with the loyal Thespians, who considered it an honor to die fighting beside Spartans. Leonidas also kept some 400 Thebans as hostages, whom he suspected of having Persian sympathies. On August 19th, the Greeks agreed to inflict as much damage as possible on the Persian forces. They pressed forward, leaving behind the safety of the wall, to fight in the widest part of the pass. There they would battle the Persians on open ground. However, they would do so without the Thebans, who, as Leonidas had thought, surrendered to the Persians before the final battle began. Once again, the Persian commanders lashed their own men to drive them forward. Many Persians were trampled to death by their fellow soldiers, others were shoved off the cliff and drowned. All the while, the Spartans and Thespians did their deadly work. No one, wrote Herodotus, could count the number of dead. The Greeks fought with their spears until they broke, then they fought with swords. It was about then that the second Persian force arrived from the mountain pass. Now completely surrounded, the exhausted Greeks formed themselves into a single compact unit. Here Herodotus wrote, "They fought till the end with their swords, if they had them, and if not, with their bare hands, until the Persians, coming from all directions, finally overwhelmed them." Thus concluding the battle of Thermopylae. Leonidas and his 300 Spartans lay dead, as did the 700 Thespians who had loyally fought beside them. The Persian dead were said to be around 20,000, although Xerxes tried to conceal this enormous loss by having most of them buried, only leaving about 1,000 Persian bodies for his army to see as it marched through the pass. It was customary in Sparta to have a great ceremony over the death of a king. Riders would carry the news throughout the country, and women would go around the capital beating cauldrons. But Leonidas was denied this proper burial, and instead Xerxes ordered his head cut off and fixed onto a stake. The remaining dead Greeks were buried in order to conceal how few had held up his army for so long, and to remind his army that the Spartans were mortal. The Greeks' courageous stand at the hot gates hardly slowed Xerxes' advance. Leonidas' heroism had only bought one more week for his compatriots, and Athens, which was pretty much abandoned, was then sacked. Yet Thermopylae was not a total loss, as the Persians had been badly bloodied, and it must have had a significant effect on Persian morale. When the Greeks finally defeated the Persians, they established holidays commemorating Thermopylae, and made memorials over the battlefield. 4,000 men from Pelops' land against 3 million once did stand, read one of the memorials. Thermopylae thus acquired a significance that transcended its small military impact. In the end, the battle's value lay not in land gained or in men killed, but in inspiration. The Spartans and Thespians had taught Greece and the world over a lesson about courage in the face of impossible odds. Okay, so that was the real battle of Thermopylae, and now in the second part of this video I thought I'd go over a few things the film 300 got wrong about the battle. Firstly, the Spartans did have heavy armour, to which the author Frank Miller said, "I took those chest plates and leather skirts off them for a reason. I wanted these guys to move, and I wanted them to look good." Secondly, all Spartan soldiers have plumes on their helmets, but in the film only Leonidas has one. Frank Miller also explains this, saying, he wanted Leonidas to stand out so the audience could recognise him as king. Thirdly, Xerxes wasn't really 9 foot tall and bold. He instead was much shorter and had a beard. He also never appeared at the front lines of the Battle of Thermopylae. Fourthly, the movie portrays the Spartans fighting the Persians by themselves. However, as I've earlier said, the army was composed of various city-states throughout Greece. In the film, the Spartans build a wall with rocks and bodies before the battle begins. However, in real life this didn't happen, as the second path wasn't there. However, the Greeks did use a wall inside the pass, which played an important role, as the Greek force used it for protection. Ephialtes, the Greek traitor, is real, but he was more than likely a shepherd and not a disfigured hunchback. And finally, rhinos, elephants, and that big troll thing were never used in the battle. I've set up a Patreon account and any donations are greatly appreciated, and I have set up a bunch of rewards for the various donation tiers. I've also set up a Twitter account. I'll put both links to them in the description below. Please like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.